Happy Friday, everybody! Welcome to Shop Talk Fridays, where we talk about business, people, doing business with people, and finding that healthy balance for continuous success, for whatever success means to you. Our guest today will be Eileen Foroglou, who is a very good friend of mine. She is also the CFO of Mix Capital. Eileen is an esteemed professional in the real estate business. She has an extensive experience in finance, asset management. She's been part of Oxford Properties, Stratton Capital, and just recently joined Mix Capital. Thank you for joining, and let's go meet her. Happy Friday, everybody. I'm super excited to be here with my friend Eileen, who I've known for a few years now, and we usually discuss the heavy topics of life, business. We are both kind of type A personalities who never give up. And at some point of our careers, we both felt the pigeonhole reality. So it felt very appropriate today to speak about it. And welcome, Eileen.
Thank you, Mara, for having me. It's a pleasure.
So let's jump right into it because you've grown into, as I've mentioned prior to becoming a CFO recently for Mix Capital. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you so much.
And so proud of you and for everything you've achieved. You work so hard. So let's talk about what made you who you are. Like, real estate is a tough business and you've done exceptionally well. So take us on a journey of your experience.
Thank you, Mara. So tell you a little bit about myself. My parents are actually refugee parents. You know, they came to Canada in the late 70s and always taught me the value of working hard and having a good attitude towards life. And it took that took me a very long way in my life, and it still applies today. I studied accounting in university, and I wanted to make sure, okay, I love numbers, I love to do numbers, but there has to be more to it. And I realized quickly that I need to be passionate in the industry that I am in. And I started one of my careers, like my co-op terms with my university with Oxford Properties. And that's when I started to get really excited. I love shopping. I love, every part about it in retail. And I realized that real estate embodies everything we do today, whether you're in e-commerce, in any operating business that you do, we have real estate that surrounds it. And real estate's an important piece in every business that we do. And I'm passionate about real estate and I love real estate. And I think that's what makes me so much better at what I do, is that I love the industry I'm in. Whether I'm in accounting or operations, it's because I'm passionate about it. And I would say that's the first thing that would make you successful in what you do. The next thing is really taking initiative. Never being afraid and asking. We talk about the pigeonhole. Like, it's easy for someone to say, "Oh, Mira, you're so good at what you do. And you're not complaining. Go ahead, just keep doing what you're doing." And that's how you get easily pigeonholed. And I think part of my success is I'm never afraid to raise my hand and say, where can I help? What can I do? Taking that initiative helps people, give you the opportunity to learn more and expand your horizon.
But also, we have to admit it, like, real estate is a tough business and it's been predominantly male dominated, and no offense to anybody here, it's just a reality. As I had one of our executives at some point tell me, 50 years ago when they were building their careers, women were not still as accepted in the industry. So tell us about, like, if you have any experience about it, and what have you learned from it? What was your turning point?
Yeah, I've had lots of comments that have passed through my life and through my career, and I never let it faze me. I really just took those as, okay, well, let me kind of show you how it could be different, right? And some of the comments that were given were, two things that work against you, Eileen, is you're female and you're Asian. The other thing I've heard in my career so far is women don't like to be, high-level executives in real estate. It's like, okay, well, we got to break that down a little bit more, right? And I think I'm all about equal opportunity, and doesn't have to be equal results. It goes back to putting in the time and the effort. But as long as we are given equal opportunity, I think that's important.
Yeah, and I think it's also it doesn't matter gender or ethnic or social cultural background as long as we also support each other. Like I've had our last episode was with Tor Negert, who's been my mentor through the years, and it was such a driving force and gave me that confidence as like as I was building my career to keep going, right? Like you had somebody with the experience. Had you had somebody like who you mentored you like
Yeah.
through your career growth?
So going through my experiences and having those comments thrown at me, I could not do it. And I say about taking initiative and having passion, but alongside of it, you need to have the right people who support you and are supportive of all the experiences you have and that you bring to the table, but also can offer you constructive criticism and help you grow your career. And I've had a few mentors around my time that have either recognized my, I guess, capabilities, my abilities to execute, and given me the opportunity. Right? Opportunity sometimes comes with having those mentors and those relationships. So those are important. I've had lots of people who have helped me, you know, have stamina and continue to push forward and not be afraid of the situation you're in.
I guess in a way we also have to inspire the generation after us that when you good at something that you do, you shouldn't be just happy with that. Like there's always unless you want to stay where you are, there's nothing wrong in that. But I think a lot of young people have the feeling that okay, I'm gonna find a mentor, they're gonna mentor me, then my career is gonna take off. It's not really how it works, right? Like even getting a mentor is hard. Like it has to be somebody who also clicks with you, who
Yes.
resonates on the same wavelength, and also you have to have that drive, as you said. The $10,000 the $10,000 question is the 10,000 hours in a way. So tell
And
us.
let me add to that a little bit, Mara. Like I actually think you can have mentors, you can have people around you, and like you said, until you put in that effort, until you put in that time, nothing changes. And a big thing I always say to people is having the right attitude going into it. Not letting those comments or those discussions bother you and you take it in a negative way and turn it into positive. Like, I always say, if someone said that to me, I would be like, okay, just let me show you how I can be different, why you should be thinking differently. And it takes more work, it takes more effort, but it's way more rewarding after that.
No, I agree. So one of the things we wanted to do and why I started the Shop Talk Fridays is not only talk about the business, but talking about the human aspect. Like we all had moments, maybe not everybody, but sometimes I'll close the door, yell, cry, and then I go back with with a bigger punch. But the reality is nobody will fight for you. Like you have to fight for yourself. And even if you are in that pigeonhole, even if somebody, and sometimes it's even people that believe in you, but they really think you're super good in what you do and they don't want to provide you with that opportunity to grow. So I guess let's talk a bit about the hardships and successes of this journey, because you probably have had a very hard, like we all had that one hard moment in our career, and could have been personally, from a personal life perspective, influenced, right? So do you want to tell us a little bit about
I
some
think
of these experiences?
the hardest turning point, I always never thought I would be in a C-suite position. Like that would have never, if you asked me 10, 15 years ago, or more like 15 years ago, I'd say, no, I'm comfortable where I am. I'm treated well and I'm comfortable. And it took mentors and who are my friends actually now today to push me and say, Eileen, you're more than that. Like, because of my attitude, because of my drive, and because of my dedication to what I do and my passion. And so one of the biggest turning points I would say is having children. Decided to have family planning, decided to have family life, and balancing that. And I say being a female is tough. You go through moments of, do I continue my career? And there's this internal battle that happens consistently. And I talk to all my friends today that are going through that same. You want to have all the career in the world, the high career success, but you also want to have the family and have that balance and be there for your children, be there for your husband. And I would say that's one of the biggest struggles, and I continue to struggle and try to balance at all moments in time in my life for that. And I've told Mira previously, like, I've heard discussions where people say, oh, I went on mat leave and I just get left behind. And my career just stops, right? And I have to say, to be honest, it does stop because you have chosen and you've made a choice to leave your career for a year or 18 months, call it. And if you have more than one child, which I do, I have two boys, I left my career for a full 2 years of my time. And there are people around you that end up working harder and learning and building their experiences 2 years ahead of you. But truly, that's okay because my family's happy, my kids are happy, my husband's happy. And now that I've settled a few of those aspects, I can now refocus, and I have been refocusing on my career.
But I think we also have to break that stigma of women trying to have it all, women feeling guilty, that imposter complex that constantly creeps on all of us, and even guys have, like, by all means, because 2 years behind, really, like, if you think of it in the long term of things, if this company doesn't evaluate you anymore after you came back from mat leave, go to another thing.
Absolutely.
Right? So I think us being here now in hindsight, we can say, don't accept it. Like, if you feel that you're pulled back somewhere because you went to raise a family, and some guys also take paternity leaves, that would apply to them too, right? Maybe it's time to move on. Don't be afraid. A lot of people I've met go for 10 years. They had 3 kids, and then imagine the fear of going back. And yet I've seen them when they persevere, things start to happen. So I think we're both very fierce mothers.
I agree with you, Mira. I don't believe it's, letting people put that, oh, you're 2 years behind, you're never going to catch up and just stay where you are. It is perseverance. It is having those discussions. It is pushing and saying, look, you only have 24 hours in a day. How are you going to break that up, right? And part of it is maybe it's, for me, a little less sleep, right? To make sure I fill all those pieces in and to catch up a bit. But ultimately, I was able to catch up in my career, and that was important because I had to have those discussions. I had to tell people, I'm here. I want to, and it's raising that hand and taking the initiative.
So can you remember a time when something negative that happened in your career that really, like, shocked you and then pushed you to push forward? Was there ever a time that or maybe you don't want to tell us, but
I would tell you there's moments where there was a time where I didn't get invited to an event, I would say, and maybe because I don't know how to play golf. Maybe it's
you and I had this discussion
sporting event, and I think I was the right fit to attend, but because I couldn't do some of those things, I did not get invited to the event. And part of that is making sure I learn how to play golf. That's
which we've been working on.
But also changing the dialogue. And you know what I did? I ended up not calling them out per se, but having a frank discussion with the individual and saying, I don't understand why I wasn't invited. Whether I played or not, I could have been part of a different discussion or part of the event in a different way, right? And making sure they include me. And I don't think that's happened again after I've had that discussion with the individual.
Well, going back to it, real estate, it is a little boys' club.
Yeah.
And we know that, and I'm openly saying it, even though we may upset somebody, but it is the reality. Every company I worked for, there was always some type of a little bit of a boys' club.
Yeah.
And not to say they don't respect women or they didn't appreciate and value us, but reality is, you and I didn't play golf.
Yeah,
right?
and I think it's, the discussions are changing. People are being more aware, and I do think I have to commend the men in the real estate industry that are pushing this forward, the agenda for women. And I put myself in their own shoes. It's hard when they don't know if you know what they're talking about, and it's easy it happens in school. You gravitate to the people that you can relate to, and they just initially think that they can't relate to you. And one of my strategies is I love sports. I love talking about sports.
When you do.
And I always find that's a really good icebreaker, and men knowing that, hey, I can be included in these discussions, and it's okay to talk to me because I'm one of the boys sometimes.
So where do you see business changing? So how do we go from what we have today? And you and I function in the real estate industry, so maybe we can focus on that, but I think it applies in general. what do we need to do, and not only from a leadership perspective, Torn and I spoke about it last time, but even from the bottom up, what changes, and I'm sure there's a lot we need to work on, but what strikes you?
Let's start from the bottom. My view is, as females, we shouldn't be afraid. Like, I think the comment I got, in my previous life is, there are not enough women who want these roles, not enough women. And I think, and there's a book I've always been told that has been really good, is How Women Rise. We've talked about that, right? And we always feel that we need to have all the pieces to succeed in life. And really, at the bottom up, you don't need to know it all. You don't need to have, as long as you have the right attitude, you're willing to work hard and take initiative. I think asking those questions and being bold enough to ask the questions, and in a positive way, I would say, and asking the questions to be involved and growing your career. So not be afraid to ask that you want more, and that you think it's a boys' club, there's nothing I can do about it. There is something you can do. And I think moving your way up, I think the discussions are already happening. I would say this is way better than what I experienced 10 years, 15 years ago. People are more aware. The awareness is there. There are a lot of men that are huge supporters of females in a C-suite capacity. And that's important. I think, we talk about diversity, we talk about gender equality. Having different pieces in your board or in the C-suite leadership role helps, because they always bring a different perspective, right? It's just how it is. We can't do it all alone with females. I think it's always needs a balance between female and male.
Because we're building some apps and innovative solutions right now, and the CTO of the company said, Mira, we need to bring you on board, because there was a study done that if there's a female sitting in the senior level, the companies don't bankrupt. Like, sure, that's the only reason.
Well, I just think it brings a different perspective again, right? And I think all different perspectives between having family and not having family, and your life experiences form what you can bring to the table as a leadership role.
So I guess in a summary, like, one of the things we want to extrapolate from our conversation is, you have to do the work. There's no magic formula to it. You also have to push. Nobody else will push for you. If no is an answer or you're not appreciated, have that confidence to push more.
Yeah.
So if somebody's entering, I keep asking this question, but I think it's important, because we tend to forget what it was when we started. And I remember sending those 100 resumes, going to the interviews, being rejected, or loving that job and then still being rejected. So how do we inspire the next generation?
I know people may not love what I'm trying to say here, but I don't ever feel a sense of entitlement. There is a sense of, you keep pushing and talking to the right people. And I really believe once you have the right attitude, and I would always say, I've been very fortunate in my career. I never think that there's moments, there are little moments, but there's never a big moment where I felt like I was always held back. Or maybe it's just because my perspective and my attitude is always a positive one, right? But I really believe that having that positive attitude can help you push forward anything. And one of the biggest things is, I'm my own worst critic.
Yeah.
So, being critical of yourself and, always reviewing and just reevaluating yourself can help you push forward. And I think taking these little pieces can help to lead to success. It's not, to me, that hard, right? It's always a great attitude, pushing yourself and taking the initiative and putting in the time.
Yeah, no, totally. So can we switch a little bit about the business side? Because obviously we're all giving advices here on career and leadership, but so you guys are doing some cool stuff. Tell us a little bit about what do you see shifting in kind of the real estate industry, and how, for example, you guys are doing things a little differently.
So always spent my life in retail, like I said, loved shopping, but Moving over to Next Capital, we've got an array of like businesses, and one of the big ones is self storage. And self storage has been an interesting asset class where not a lot of people have paid attention to it. But what we've realized is in these urban areas where people live, there's not enough space to store their stuff. And in creating this self storage component, this self storage asset class allows people to store stuff at rather, cheap costs for them, and because living costs is so expensive in the urban areas. And it's been successful for us. And what I would say is converting some of these employment use lands that, offices, old offices or old that could never, like, you don't have play for anymore, and making that an asset class that actually drives the traffic and translate that to real rent is super interesting. The other things that we're part of is operating businesses. We're part of a fitness, health and wellness fitness. We're partnership with Altea, and I find that rather very, very interesting because I think health and wellness is something that is huge in the industry. Everyone loves, it's an important piece as we get older, as our family, our parents, everyone gets older. We want to care for our own bodies, and there's a lot of awareness to that. So I think there's some really good, exciting things we're doing. It's a very diverse portfolio. Not only do we do these operating businesses, we manage industrial and certain office real estate, and then residential as well. So, Next Capital does an array of different asset classes, which makes it so exciting and interesting.
So I really love how diversified you guys are. Like, our typical landlord situation, yes, there's quite a lot of mixed use, but you guys are really kind of pushing it forward. And I love that. Like, I know for ourselves, even, like, we had to pivot strategically, not just offering marketing services, but we're now developing technologies and innovation to solve problems that before people were trying to, like, almost put a band-aid on them, right? Like COVID also changed how we perceive business. And for some people, as Doran said it, like, there was winners and losers, right? Like, if you either have that power to push. So you've always been a huge supporter of marketing, and you and I had amazing conversations. So if you don't mind, we talk a little bit about marketing, because you're one of the people that I feel so strongly about the topic. So tell us, how do you see marketing in that retail mix? How do you see it in the new world?
So I go back to thinking, like, I think some people, and I wouldn't say the major landlords, I think the major landlords have it figured out. And that is, marketing is really a place where it's a communication tool to your consumers, right? But I think it's far more than that, because it helps. You need a marketing person to help you create strategy, and to help you create strategy in telling it. They're your communicator. They're helping you tell everybody who you are, what you do, why you want consumers coming to you. And there's so many ways that you can do it in such a small little subliminal way, or even there's so much reach now with technology that I think marketing is someone who is not just, real estate on-site marketing. There's that corporate branding aspect to marketing. Like, what am I telling my investors? What am I telling people outside who are interested in seeing me? How's my marketing team coming together, putting that together and communicating that piece for me? And to me, that's really marketing. Like, it's not just on-site day-to-day events and mall events and whatever events we're holding and open houses. It encompasses a bigger strategy. And I really think marketing piece should be more strategic and help us grow and help us understand what are we telling and communicating to our outside world, who we are and what we do.
I think some of the key points here, first of all, we need to empower the marketing department. Quite often marketing, I don't think people realize, but we're in between all the stakeholders. Like, I call it, we're kind of the waiter between like this department wanting this, and this side of the business is pulling in a different direction. So we kind of have to marry that and present a strategy, but also quite often the strategy starts being skewed because of different perspectives. So it is a very challenging role, but I think what leaders need to understand is your branding is not just a shopping center. It's not just you as a corporate. Your branding is also how you treat your people, how you empower your department. So like marketing is not just a piece of poster or a banner that you put
That's
on
right.
social media. There are companies that have a tremendous reputation because of the way they treat their vendors. In a way, this is also part of your corporate communication and marketing. So I think we collectively in the industry need to understand that. And during COVID, it was funny when we had to like, not funny, sorry, not the right word, but I've been pushing for marketing and like let's give power to marketing. It was always kind of on the back burner, and then when COVID happened, suddenly everybody realized the only communication tool we have is our marketing department.
Yeah, I think I've said it, like marketing's your communicator, like it's your communication piece, and I think you'll add to that, like people are trying to use signage, and all the signage companies were super busy too. But
Yeah, correct.
you know, you needed your marketing person to know exactly how you convey that through a piece of doc, because you couldn't talk anymore in person. You had to use signs to demonstrate language, right, and use it as a communication piece. So yeah, I think marketing is truly the gateway from, you know, internally to external.
Well, the other thing that I always loved about you, that your open mindset. Like it's not just because you're in finance or asset management, never stopped you from having that perspective on other departments. And I think this is key for success. Circling back to our initial conversation is, and the pigeonhole. You shouldn't pigeonhole yourself only in one particular area of expertise. Not to say go and start study everything and be a master of all, but I think we should always like. People don't realize marketing, half of it is budgeting. Like you need to know your numbers, you need to know how to manage vendors, project management. The actual creative part is great, but then when the work starts,
remember where we were talking about analytics, like right? And how did those numbers translate to traffic, sales? Like, you know, marketing has a piece in that. And you guys digest that number and articulate that to us internally, right? So it's not just posters and pretty creative pictures. You have to have that, don't get me wrong, but there is that other piece that is full cumbersome of like financials and data analytics.
Yeah, and no offense, like obviously we know that quite a lot of companies have achieved that gold standard and like things are strategically functioning well, but also for them there's always space for improvement, and there's always room to bring new innovative ideas. So I guess the key is we should never be complacent. Like we should always be looking for innovation. And unlike, let's face it, Canada is like, we are a little more conservative than the rest of the world. Like when I was working in Europe, like a long time ago, like we were doing more innovative commercials than I see now. So I think we collectively as an industry, as professionals, should start pushing the envelope a little further. Yeah. And you guys are kind of doing this with like partnering in different asset classes and doing things different.
And you know, all of that requires marketing for us, right? We need people to communicate. It's part of a communication tool. So I'm excited to see what else comes from your company and yourself, because I'm always a big supporter of you.
Yeah, thank you. So just before we send everybody off for the weekend, I guess in a recap is like, I know we are repeating it, but we were just chatting. It is hard work, and it's kind of funny to be on the other side of the table, having the 15 years of experience behind us, but it is hard work. And at the end of the day, nobody will make it for you. If you put mediocre input, you're going to get mediocre results. I have days that sometimes I work 20 hours a day, and sometimes this continues 2 weeks. Not to say it's the most healthiest of all, but like when you have that passion and you put the work, things do tend to happen.
I think you have to ask yourself, when you put effort in anything you do, it doesn't have to be work, you see positive results, and the two are directly correlated. Is, you know, large effort, and you know, some people learn to work smartly. It doesn't need to be a lot of time, but you're putting that effort in, results usually in a very positive result.
And I think that the one aspect we didn't really touch upon is like also how you treat people. I think it's very important as you develop your career to be kind to people. I've always said, if somebody is not very nice, they always have to remember that the people they're not nice to are the little leaders of tomorrow. So
yes, and I'm a big proponent of it, and I show it every day, is leading by example. I always ask myself, do I want that to be happening to me? And if I don't do it. But if I want the same, I guess, attitude or the same action being used towards me, I will replicate. So leading by example, setting the example so that the people under you see that, oh, this is how Eileen values work, or this is how she works, is the biggest, I think, teaching that you can give anybody. You can say one thing and not follow through and do it. It means nothing to anybody. And you're not teaching the next generation how to work smartly or work, putting in the effort and taking the initiative.
I know this is also, we're sidetracking, but in a way also we have to understand that you should be treating people in the workforce the same way you treat your friends, or like there's no, that power trip is of the past. I think the future leaders, our industry will be successful, our marketing campaigns will be successful if we come from a place of understanding and being equal with everybody, not just gender-wise or backgrounds or everything. Like we are all equal, like the customer, us as the brands, and as the business. So I think when you grow your career and as you're progressing, I think it, like even for us, like I'm sure we'll achieve much more. It really matters how you treat people and how you carry yourself.
And it goes back to leading by example, because if you want to be treated in a positive way, you should be treating someone else in a positive way and with the right attitude.
So we are sending you off with some positive vibes for the weekend. We're gonna thank again Eileen for joining us.
Thank you, Mara, for having me. I hope we were able to help you guys have a couple of takeaways and grow a successful career for yourselves. And it's not just a successful career, it's also a successful home life, right? The same things apply at home or anything you do in life.
I'm sure we'll have you back.
Thank you.